Welcome to MetroSTL. I'm Charles JACO. Today we are pleased to be joined by Yamelsie Rodriguez. She is president and CEO of the Reproductive Health Services of Planned Parenthood in the St. Louis region, and we are talking about the future of abortion in the St. Louis area, but more specifically, the case that's coming before the Supreme Court. Ms. Rodriguez, this case that's coming before the Supreme Court is out of Mississippi. What about this specific case concerns you now that the Supreme Court says they're going to consider it?
Hi, Charles. First and foremost, I want to thank you for the opportunity to really speak about the Supreme Court case. The last couple of days have been really sobering, but most certainly not surprising. I think Planned Parenthood and other reproductive rights and reproductive justice organizations have been warning that this day was going to come, a day where we would see a direct challenge to Roe v. Wade. And the Mississippi 15-week abortion ban was a law that was initially went into effect in 2018 and was enjoined. And what it's so concerning about this particular case making it all the way to the Supreme Court is that by taking this case, the court it's reviewing something that has been precedent, right? The over and over again, lower courts have found any abortion ban case related to pre-viability unconstitutional. So the fact that they have decided to take this case up for review, it's of great concern. But I would also say that we are not surprised, right? Here locally in Missouri, we have our own abortion ban case, HB 126, that it's making its way through the judicial court system. And it's one of the most restrictive, outrageous abortion bans in the country. It's an omnibus bill that will ban abortion at every gestational age. So we are watching closely, but most importantly, what I want to reassure people is that this is not new and it's something that we have been preparing for.
Now, this isn't the only case. As you noted, there's the Missouri case, there's the Texas law that was signed there, the so-called fetal heartbeat bill. A number of states have passed incredibly restrictive laws, all of which are designed to end up in the federal courts and challenge Roe v. Wade. Between that and a 6-3 conservative supermajority in the Supreme Court, don't you believe that it indicates that eventually Roe versus Wade is either going to be overturned by this court or they're going to throw it back to the states and say each individual state can outlaw abortion if they choose?
Yeah, what we can say definitively, right, it's that we know that the Trump administration appointed 3 judges with records that are anti-sexual and reproductive rights. And if Roe were to be overturned, that decision will likely go and legal abortion will be defined at the state level. I think it's important to understand that Roe, it's just the floor and not the ceiling. And what I mean by that is that for so many people in this country, as a matter of fact, if Roe is overturned, there would be 25 million women of reproductive age that will live in a state where access to abortion is completely eliminated. But we already know that in Missouri, 1.5 million women of reproductive age can be left without access to abortion in their home state. But the reality is also that for women in Missouri, they've been living in a post-Roe world for a very long time due to discriminatory, racist systems that impose medically necessary restrictions that prevent access to care. We know that for the vast majority of the women in Missouri, they live 250 miles or more from the nearest abortion clinic in the state, which is the last and sole abortion clinic in Missouri operated by Reproductive Health Services of Planned Parenthood.
I'm glad you brought that up because you folks at Reproductive Health Services of Planned Parenthood have been strategic and proactive about this. In other words, you established a new clinic in the Metro East in Illinois that will essentially serve the eastern third of Missouri, as well as Illinois, should Roe be thrown back to the states, and should Missouri outlaw abortion completely, as seems likely, but that would still leave women in the center of the state, in the western part of the state, almost no recourse except a drive of several hundred miles. First question, what led you guys to establish the new clinic in Illinois? Did you think that with the conservative majority that this was coming and you needed to be proactive to set up sort of an emergency fallback in case abortion was outlawed in Missouri?
First and foremost, patients are always going to be our first priority. We center all of our decisions based on our patients' needs. And given the hostile political environment and the anti-reproductive rights environment in Missouri, we saw the writing on the wall. So we decided it's time for us to take action, to be proactive and take bold steps to ensure access to abortion remains accessible, regardless of who is in Jefferson City or in the White House. And that really led to the build out of a state-of-the-art abortion facility just across the river, as you said, in Illinois. That was a strategic decision because of the favorable sexual and reproductive laws in the state. As a matter of fact, I moved from working at Planned Parenthood in Illinois to becoming the CEO here for Reproductive Health Services at the time where Illinois had just passed the Reproductive Health Act, removing all abortion trigger laws from the books, but also recognizing pregnancy care and abortion care as fundamental rights under state law. While during that same legislative session, the Missouri legislature passed HB 126, as I said earlier, one of the biggest abortion bans in the country. So yes, we were strategic, we're centering patients in decision making, and we are positioning our organization. We've been building capacity. We're thinking about how can we provide care and how can we be prepared to serve people that will be driving from states in the Midwest and the South. And I will tell you that we got some really good test runs during COVID-19 as anti-choice governors around the country started signing executive orders trying to ban or trying to use the COVID-19 crisis as a way to ban abortion. During that time, we saw patients driving from Texas, Arkansas, Tennessee, and of course from Missouri. So I often tell people, if you want to know what a post-Roe world looks like, look no further than Missouri. And because of that, we have developed the muscle and the strategic thinking to ensure people can get the care they need no matter what.
Years ago, when I was an undergraduate at the University of Chicago, there was a movement. This was pre-Roe v. Wade, of women who set up essentially an underground network to funnel people into the area so they could get abortions. Do you think what's passed is prologue, and we may see, for want of a better term, a form of an underground network like that forming in states like Missouri, Arkansas, Kansas, where in a post-Roe world, there will not be abortion services available, where people will be risking jail time, in other words, to try to provide abortion services inside these states where it's illegal?
Yeah, I think that what we do know is that overturning Roe does not mean that the need for abortion, it goes away. And what's going to happen is that safe, legal abortion will be in jeopardy. And we believe that people will make the decisions and figure out a way to get the care that they need. And this is why we've been working on what the future of abortion access looks like, to figure out ways to create an infrastructure so people can get safe, high quality care. But I think people will just figure out ways to get there. And it is the job of those of us in the reproductive justice and the reproductive rights, working in collaboration with abortion subsidies funds to ensure that we have the resources, not just accessibility and places where people can get abortion, but also creating that infrastructure that thinks about things that people will need if you're traveling hundreds of miles. Now we're talking that you're going to need additional money to pay for childcare, for transportation, for accommodations in order to access what we know it's essential, basic, safe care.
Do you think that the political winds right now indicate that having gone after abortion, as odd as it sounds, that these same ideologues will go after contraception next?
You know, I think that politicians, right, and anti-choice politicians, if they want to reduce the need for abortion, they would be focusing their efforts on increasing access to care for all, on ensuring that contraception is widely available and covered under insurance, commercial insurance plan, as well as Medicaid. And we would focus our efforts in bringing evidence-based, age-appropriate sex education, both in Missouri schools and in schools all around the country. That is what's going to lead to healthier people. This is what it's going to empower women to take control of their reproductive health and their lives. So our goal and our efforts as advocates in this movement is to refocus the attention of politicians to really ensuring people have the resources that they need. Because unfortunately, regardless of what happens with Roe, people of means will always find a way to travel and get abortion, while those that are disproportionately burdened by this. So I mean, people of color, indigenous people, people with low incomes, and those of us that live in rural areas of the country are always the one that carry the biggest burden.
The clinic here in St. Louis is the only abortion facility in the state, much like Mississippi, which only has one. Right now, abortions are available at the Planned Parenthood Reproductive Health Services clinic in St. Louis. If it comes down that the Supreme Court allows states to outlaw abortions, Reproductive Health Services would be offering abortions at your clinic in Illinois. The clinic in St. Louis, would it still remain open to offer non-abortion health services?
Thank you for asking that question. Let's just set the record straight first right now for people that are watching. Abortion remains safe and legal in all 50 states, including the state of Missouri. So our doors at Reproductive Health Services are open, and we are providing abortion care at that facility. Should Roe be overturned, the decision goes back to the states, and we know that abortion will be completely banned in Missouri. But people should remember that abortion it's one of the many, many services that Planned Parenthood offers. It is a small percentage of the preventative care that we provide, but I also want to flag that we are completely unapologetic. We are proud to provide essential healthcare for everyone who needs it. So our facility in St. Louis will remain open, and we will continue to provide the extensive scope of preventative services like birth control, STI testing and treatment. We started offering transgender care, including hormone replacement therapy, and a variety of all other services that are part of the Planned Parenthood suite.
Final question for you. Given the political temperature right now in the country, especially among many of the conservative state governments, could you see that if Roe is overturned, abortion could essentially become illegal in a vast majority of states, like 30, 35 states? There would only be a handful of states where abortions would still be available?
We already know, right, that there are around 22 states around the country where abortion become completely inaccessible and illegal should Roe v. Wade be overturned. And what we are looking at, it's the reality that the majority of the American South and the Midwest will be left without abortion access. So if Roe v. Wade is overturned, what we are going to see is tremendous inequities around the country when it comes to accessing abortion. The closest facility that people will be able to access care in the Midwest includes our location in Fairview Heights, Illinois, which is just about 13 miles across the river.
So that would mean that clinic in Southern Illinois near St. Louis would conceivably not only be picking up in a post-Roe world, abortions from Eastern Missouri, it would be Indiana, it would be Kentucky, it would be Tennessee, it would, because as you noted, you're going to have a number of states in the contiguous South where there is not one abortion clinic for maybe 5 or 6 states in any direction.
That it's correct. We know that there's only a handful of abortion clinics around the country. When it comes to Planned Parenthood in particular, we would be one of just 11 facilities around the country that would be able to provide abortion should Roe v. Wade be overturned. Just
11.
11.
Only 11 in the entire country.
Only 11 Planned Parenthood affiliate or locations around the country, just based on what we already know, right? Other states have trigger laws. There's other places like Mississippi, for example, where Planned Parenthood does not provide abortion. And this is why, as I said earlier, we've been preparing for this. We have the physical space and the capacity to be able to just increase our resources and be prepared to see people coming from, as far as Texas, because we already saw them driving that really long distance through the COVID-19 crisis.
And we will know probably in June 2022 when the Supreme Court hands down its ruling. Yamelsie Rodriguez, President and CEO of Reproductive Health Services of Planned Parenthood of the St. Louis region. It was a pleasure. Thank you very, very much for taking the time to join us.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.